Hey guys, back today with another set of love dares. This one is the love dare for parents. And so I've done 40 days of the love dare between husband and wife. That's the foundation. That's the one covenant relationship that you have with another human being in which by God's Spirit you become one. And so that one is the one you've got to focus on primarily because that's the one and only relationship that you come into unity by covenant with another human being. So your spouse is the number one relationship. In other words, when you're in a relationship with a God who is love, but he's invisible, you don't know how much of that is real to your heart and soul until you can begin to give it and practice it on another human being. And the primary human being you're to practice it on is the husband or wife because they're the one that's in your space. I mean, it's easy for us, or it's not easy, I shouldn't say that, but it's easier to like go to work and treat other people good because you can be motivated to do so because it's going to work out better for you if you treat this person well and this person is in a good relationship with you. That's going to benefit you. But you can do it for motives that are really for you, so you can do it with the wrong motive. And again, that's not to say it's bad. That's a good thing that you feel motivated to treat people well because it does end up being good for you. But your marriage relationship is different because you don't get to hide from this person. You go back to your home where you really bring out the real you, and this other person really has to deal with the real you that you are needing to uh, change because the real you, there's parts of you and I that are just messing things up for us. I mean, that's why, biblically, that's why we believe Jesus had to come. Because if he hadn't, we'd be stuck with this person that we are, and there's no way to alter it until we really encounter true unconditional love. So, firstly, we have that relationship with our spouse that we need to be authentically practicing an unconditional love in and growing in that. So that's your first 40 days, the love dare, the 40-day love dare. I've already got uh, those videos done, and you can access those if you just search for it. Um, However, I'm going to start now the second half of that because once you have husband and wife and you got that relationship solidified, now you got children that are involved, and children need perfect love. And they need an environment that has been solidified and founded in committed love um, that is real between husband and wife, because in that, then you create an environment of love and growth and development. So you got to raise your kids up properly. So the love dare for parents is the same thing as the love dare for husband and wife, except it's aimed at your children. So this is day one. And day one is love blooms. And Ephesians 3:17 says, you being rooted and grounded in love. Love is life's purest and most powerful motivator. It always does what is best for others and invites us to reach new heights in our relationships. Love brings fresh flavors to our living and renewed joy to our giving. Every relationship becomes more meaningful with it. No family is truly happy without it. For this reason, love creates the richest soil in which to raise children. As flowers in a greenhouse are supplied with an ideal environment for growth, so a home filled with love provides the best context for children to flourish. Your kids should not only be the fruit of your love, but should also be deeply rooted in the nurture of your love on a daily basis. Every child is born with a lifelong thirst for love. Their hearts desperately need it, like their little lungs need oxygen. It fills and energizes them. It stabilizes and secures them. Sons who grow up in loving families tend to stand taller in the day and sleep deeper in the night. Daughters rooted in love are more radiant when they rise and less fearful if they fail. Successes are amplified with celebration. Failures are minimized with tender consolation. Man, that is so true. And so again, the idea here is to have solidified such a loving environment that failure then can be failure is just feedback, and we all fail. I'm reading a book that's about, well, let's see, it's called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And this book is phenomenal. It's talking about the fact that most people gain what's called a fixed mindset, which means that they feel like they have to just be gifted at everything. And if they're not gifted at it, then they don't want to do it. And so because they have a fixed mindset, if you're struggling to do something well, a person with a fixed mindset just says, "Oh, well, I don't want to do it then because I'm not good at it." And so they have this fixed mindset that just stops their development in whatever area you're talking about. It just stops it. And it fails to understand that every single human that's on the planet is created in the image and likeness of God, which means that within us we have the capacity to get better at everything. It's just a matter of effort and faith and hope in doing it, and you get better at it. So what if you can't read fast? You can read faster if you learn some tricks of the trade and you give your time and energy to it. So what if you don't know math really well? So what if it doesn't come easy to me? Well, just entertain it, practice it with faith and hope and understanding that your failure is just feedback. Failure needs to be an area in all of our lives in which we are seeing and understanding where we're weak so that we can get strengthened and overcome. See, that's called a growth mindset, and that's what this book, Mindset, is all about. Gaining a growth mindset in your parenting, in your business, in your school or your education, in your relationships, I mean, goodness, even if you're struggling to love your spouse, well, welcome to the club. That's called being human. You can grow there if you give effort to it, if you give time and energy and effort, and then you exercise faith and hope and love. You exercise it, you get better at it, you get into a growth mindset. So I just started that by saying that failures are minimized with tender consolation. If you can get an environment in your home where your kids are okay with failing because it doesn't define them, failure just identifies the areas in which they get to overcome. But if they're afraid to fail, then they're just going to live this limited life and they're going to just run from potential failure, which just makes your life get smaller and smaller and smaller. We need to be creating an environment for our own hearts, our own marriage, our own family, our children, in which failure is just feedback. We just get to see where we get to grow now, and now we get to attack those areas of weakness with hope and with faith that we're going to outshine those things that used to be difficult, not anymore, because I've exercised growth in those areas and I'm growing. Our children need that desperately. We all need that. So the love you express to your children is infinitely more valuable than any possession you could give them. You can educate them in prestigious schools, dress them in the finest clothes, give them guide them with the wisest rules, and boldly confront their worst fears. But if they do not rest in your unconditional love, you're neglecting a much more vital need for their true success to life. Children come pre-packaged with core questions hidden in their hearts. Do I matter? Does anyone truly care about me? Do I have what it takes? Dads and moms are commissioned to be God's first responders to answer these questions clearly and repeatedly over the years. When kids are unsure if the words "I love you" apply to their hearts, they will be constantly tempted to pursue validation in their performance, or in the options, or in the opinions of others. Insecurities will abound. Failure will become more devastating because their sense of self-worth and identity hangs in the balance. Oh my goodness, this is so true. In the West, in Western culture, and in Western families, we have failed to give our family, our children, an identity in the family. They don't feel like they have a name that they represent that means something. Now, in the East, they do a much better job of doing a multi-generational branding of a sense of family identity. Like, I come from the Thompsons. We don't do that in the West. We love autonomy and so-called freedom and autonomy and individuality to the point that we live it out in our homes, and we don't give our kids an identity, a sense of identity that you come from something that is us, the family. In my case, the Thompsons. We do such a poor job of that, and so our kids feel this vacuum kicked in, and they run out. They got to get validated by all these other things. They've got to become an individual, which individuality is great. We are unique in how God created us. But if they don't get a sense of love and belonging from the family unit, then all that does is kick in a vacuum that says, I've got to go find myself out there, and they're driven to it. I was driven to it just to try to find me, and I needed all of my peers to tell me I was somebody. And it is a trick, and it's something that I'm understanding can be remedied as I know who I am, unconditionally loved by God. And as I'm rested in that, and then I create an environment in my home that's a family team environment, an identity that is a Thompson identity, and that my kids can feed off of and know they are secure, they're loved, they come from something solid, then they have a healthy individuality about them, and they're not driven to the world to try to prove themselves being somebody and try to get feedback from the world that would tell them, hey, you are special. They need to hear that from me, and they need to know that. That needs to be real. So, I'm getting on a subject here. I get myself all worked up about it. But what happens when a child is deeply loved by his parents over the years? But what happens when a child is deeply loved by his parents over the years? His needs are more consistently met. Her dreams are faithfully encouraged. He enjoys their understanding. She is welcomed with their affection. Children like these receive instructions and protection. They're disciplined and accepted. They're assured of your patience and forgiveness, and free to share their hearts honestly without fear of overreaction. They'll even weather intense seasons of disappointment with the stability of your love that your love supplies. What's more, when this kind of loving relationship develops between you and your child, it becomes the best environment for you to pass on your beliefs, values, faith, and heritage to them and to future generations. Love creates a safe zone to deal with life's lessons and harsh realities. Rebuke and discipline are more palatable when seasoned with genuine love. Your children will be more likely to discern and reject the lies of others if they first receive your wise counsel within the environment of your tender affection. But see, the first thing you got to do is connect. There has to be a pipeline of connection between you and them so that your words coming through that pipeline are powerfully landing in their hearts to where they feel filled. See, that's the key. Developing an environment that's real, that does that. Now, then they're full. See, they're already satisfied. They have those answers to those questions. Love creates a safe zone to deal with life's lessons and harsh realities. I'm reading this again because it's so important. Rebuke and discipline are more palatable when seasoned with genuine love. Your children will be more likely to discern and reject the lies of others if they first receive your wise counsel within the environment of your tender affection. The scriptures illustrate this reality by saying to us, we are no longer to be children tossed here and there by waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, by craftiness and deceitful scheming, but speaking the truth in love, we are growing up in all aspects. That's Ephesians 4:14 and 15. Though these verses are speaking of spiritual growth within the church, the power of speaking the truth in love is also fundamental to effective parenting, to any relationship for that matter. Truth guides what you say, while love guides how, why, and when you say it. When love is the fertile soil, truth becomes a more fruitful seed. By working together, truth and love build deep trust between you and your child. In contrast, when parents force truth into a relationship that's poisoned with anger, bitterness, insecurity, or emotional isolation, these truths tend to become twisted or rejected over time. Pain and misunderstanding become silent weeds that can choke out what you're trying to communicate. Even when you speak clearly, your wise words may fall on toxic soil. This is why past hurts must always be uncovered and dealt with compassionately to gain a child's heart and ear again. Test yourself with these questions. How loving and fertile is the soil in your home? How much love do my children sense from me each day? Do the truths I share take root, or are they ignored? What toxins or weeds need to be eliminated? You may have grown up in a very loving home, and the idea of freely pouring out love on your children may come easily and naturally, or you may have always felt a deep void of love at home, and now you long to provide what was never modeled or shared with you. In either case, we challenge you to resolve that you will be committed to establishing a strong environment of love for your children to bloom within. Purpose to begin this today. So here's your first love dare for your children. Words are powerful. Words are a powerful way to communicate love. The first dare is simply to find a moment when you can verbally express love to your children, whether they are in your house or reachable by phone. If it is possible, make sure they hear you say the words, "I love you" today. Man, what a powerful love dare. Simple but profound, and anybody can do it. And so the biggest choice today is that you are committing to that last word. You're committing to giving yourself to love. First, yourself. You've got to commit to receiving the love that God gives unconditionally, turning to your spouse and working on giving that love to them, and then together, and then turning to your children. It's the family, man. Malachi 4, 5, and 6 is a promise from God in the Old Testament. He says the spirit of Elijah will come. He says, I'll send the spirit of Elijah. The spirit of Elijah is a fathering spirit. That spirit's intent is that the hearts of the fathers are turned to the children, and the hearts of the children are turned to the fathers. That term fathers is gender specific, so it's fathers and mothers as parents. This happening to them. So the Elijah spirit, that fathering spirit, is God the Father fathering moms and dads and bringing about the family unit into healing and health. So you got that word behind you today. Give yourself to loving your family. Bless you today. That's the first one. I'll be back for more.